Guys, you don't need to say the words. Just let it go. You don't need to count down with us. We'll do it for you.
Hey, yo.
Sorry, I was actually watching Wayne's World.
It's the Memo Show. I love that movie. It's such a great movie. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1,
Camera.
camera 2. I was thinking, like, I just wanted to do this because I need some content for Instagram, and you always give me great content.
I'll
so
be
I
your
figured
whore.
I
It's
could
okay.
just, yeah, thank you. Hey, so
I will
we have,
happily be your shill.
do you have that radio show, Breakfast with the Beatles, on Sunday on the radio?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I
every
go to
Sunday.
Waffle. I go to Waffle House on Sunday mornings.
Is that your church?
It is. I go to Church of Waffle House. Smothered covered, baby.
I'm not opposed to that. That sounds delicious. What do you get?
2 eggs, sunny side up, hash browns, ham, cheese, onion, jalapeno, wheat toast, because you got to be healthy, and some sausage on the side.
How big
And
is your
the
shit
toast-
afterwards?
Usually happens in Target around 11:30 in the morning, and it's amazing.
Sounds like
I'm
a
playing
great Sunday
Battleship.
morning.
It is. It's fantastic. Because
Well-
after I go to Waffle House, I stop at Dunkin' Donuts to get coffee to really make it happen.
You don't drink coffee there?
Oh, I
At the
do.
Waffle House? Oh.
Yeah, I drink like an inappropriate amount of coffee usually.
How do you take your coffee?
Black with a little bit of sugar, which somehow baffles people.
Yeah, I think because if you're going to go black, you may as well just go completely black.
Just made like the worst like malapropism about trying to say something else. Like once you go black, you just keep on
Probably
going black.
stay that way.
Back. Things shall remain probably in that general.
Coffee! I'm talking about coffee.
No, dude, it's amazing. Every time it's like 1 out of 5 times I go to like Dunkin' Donuts, they mess up my coffee because they're like black with sugar. No, he meant black.
Or here's 16 squirts of creamer that I didn't ask for.
Yeah, creamer's gross. I think people who put creamer in their coffee are weird.
Can't do it. Well, anyway, so we have this thing called Breakfast with the Beatles, and I think it's from like 7 until maybe like 11 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. There's this guy, I don't remember his name, but he's the DJ. He just plays like Beatles songs. He talks about the Beatles. Sometimes the shows are live. But it got me thinking, do you like the Beatles?
I do.
Are you like a big Beatles fan, or like?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I feel like the Beatles. That's such a big spectrum because there's people who I know someone who I love as a person. She has like a little like Beatles museum in her house. It's really cool, and she loves the Beatles. I've found her like little like paperbacks about them at times and given to her as a gift, and she loves the Beatles. Where like I love Tom Waits, but I'm not going to have a Tom Waits museum in my house. I mean, you never know.
It'd just be like an ashtray with cigarettes
Just
and half
ashtray and some
drunken
bourbon.
half drunken.
And once a week, I pass out at a piano just to make it feel real. But no, like I would say I'm a Beatles fan, but I'm not like I can't tell you like what songs are specifically on what albums, but I can't do that for virtually any musician. So I can sing along to them. You know, I know most of the words to "Hey Jude."
Yeah,
But,
I think.
the Beatles are great.
Well, here's the thing. I was thinking about it today because I went to the gym and it was on, and then I got out of the gym and it was still on. I was thinking like, I used to really like the Beatles, and I just can't stand them anymore. I don't know why. Like if they come on, I turn it off. I never was one to like to put the Beatles on. You know, like they weren't really. I liked them when they came on, or maybe I would put on the White Album. Or maybe Sgt. Pepper's, but I didn't like any of the previous stuff. I don't really like their solo stuff. I mean, there's some Paul McCartney stuff I like, but anyway, I just like as I'm getting older, I'm starting to like just not like I can't stand them now, and I don't know why. I don't know why.
So I don't think in 25 years have I ever been like, you know what I'm going to play today? That Beatles album.
Yeah,
I'm
never
not
never
person.
strikes me to put it on.
A lot of people would disagree with this. Like John Lennon is an amazing songwriter. He's an amazing artist. He's a brilliant person. John Lennon was someone who abused his spouse.
He's a fucking dickhead.
Someone who was not a great person.
No, he's a horrible person.
Who has been like super deified in a lot of ways, and I find that just to be kind of like, you know, I'm far from the first person who's ever said something like this, but like he wrote Imagine at like a $10,000 pure white baby grand piano. I think they count that as a possession. It's I don't know. I like McCartney a lot. I remember reading Dave Grohl's book, and he was talking about meeting Paul McCartney for the first time,
Yeah.
or something. And this may have even been a different fucking book. I don't know. But how
No,
Paul
you're right.
McCartney will basically say to somebody, "Listen, you can take a picture with me, or we can be friends, but we can't do those two things, because I'm either going to be Paul, who's your friend, or Paul, who you take pictures with, because I'm Paul McCartney. And that's okay, but you make that choice of what we're going to be." I think that is one of the best responses to fame and the trappings of for someone who's been, frankly, one of the most probably 25 famous people on the planet for the past 50 some odd years,
Yeah.
is a really amazing way to look at it. And then I'm like, oh, look, Ringo's still alive.
I mean, I
But also,
admire.
I like George Harrison when he was alive.
Yeah, like I admire their body of work, their library of music. It's humongous. I admire their ingenuity for like when they
Yeah.
recorded and stuff. Like they and their creativity. Like they freaking did so much stuff that was before their time, and inspired so many bands like for decades to come. But I just for as I'm getting older, I thought I would appreciate them more, but I just feel like
No, absolutely.
I don't know if this is even possible, but like they're almost like played out at this point in my life. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to say that, and
No, I see what you're saying.
yeah, I was just thinking about it today, and I was wondering if you like the Beatles, but that got me thinking.
So, well, let me throw this at you real quick. So, one, I understand why juggalos yell whoop whoop. It's because you love what you love, and like whatever music speaks to you is whatever music speaks to you. And I understand why Beatles fans love the Beatles. I completely get it. But I guess, and this is I am so not qualified, dude. I know fucking nothing about music. But the Beatles' influence is so large, has like almost come around back on itself a little bit in some weird and strange way, where the Beatles' influence is so there constantly that you're just inured to it. Like it's just there. So like, they're okay. But also, there's also like the Elvis thing where like, dude, fuck Elvis. I don't care about Elvis. Don't care. And like, there's a little bit of that from like our parents too, of like that kind of generational. Like things are shifting out of like the Beatles and Elvis being the most important shit. You know, the Stones are still making amazing music, but you know, and Aerosmith's never playing again anymore. Like that, it's done. Like that kind of music is. This is like my grandpa being like, these kids don't appreciate the Glenn Miller. You know, no, we don't. It's fucking chat. I'm never going to Chattanooga on a train. But yeah, that's my take on the Beatles. Love what you love, but they're okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because you remember we were talking the other day about that little studio in Norwalk that was like in Sono, that was like the basement of a building, and it was the most decrepit fucking piece of shit ever. Like everybody recorded there.
It was a shack built on top of a dock.
Yeah,
That's
basically.
what that place was. Yeah,
And then I remembered who.
Were like this.
Yeah. And I remember who it was. It was Brooks. Brooks' studio. Like, that's what we used to call it. And, you know, he was, if I remember him correct, he had like the 80s, like feathered hair. And
He did.
And he had like the long, skinny jeans. He was really tall, long, skinny jeans. He was super skinny, like heroin skinny.
He looked like somebody who like really took it hard that they didn't get that MTV VJ position in like '88. And was like, fuck it, I'm still gonna rock. No, he was cool though. He was like, you 15-year-olds want to hang out and drink beer here and shoot pool? I record your friends.
Yes, that was cool.
You guys want to record at high tide or low tide? Completely different soundscape.
Well, yeah, because we did. I think they did Ned's album there,
They did.
and then I think
They did two albums there.
I think Pete recorded there at some point too, but I was always around.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember it later on in my 20s. Okay, you remember Curry's Tire Shop on, I think it was on West Ave? East Ave? Curry's. It's like, it's been there for like 95 fucking years.
Yeah, dude, I bought like $15 tires there. They would be bald in like 6 months, but I was like, I'm poor.
I mean, they were always there in a pinch, you know?
They'd have a weekly special called like, these will get you through emissions.
Well, his son,
just enough tread on him.
His son Adam like my mom always used to send me like these articles. Oh, Adam Curry. I guess, my mom and dad went to school with Tim and, the owner of the tire shop. And then, I mean, Tim was into music and then Adam was into music, and Adam was in this successful local Beatles cover band.
What were they called?
I don't remember. I could probably look it up real quick, but and I'm not talking shit about him, but I had this experience and I wanted to share it, and the Beatles brought me back to that. But I was probably in my mid 20s, maybe 25, 26, and my mom, she would always send me these newspaper clippings of him and like his band, and oh look, Adam's doing music here, because anything music in Norwalk, she would send me clips of to like check out. And I think at one point she said to me, "Hey, Adam needs another guitarist for his Beatles cover band. Like, are you interested?" And I think I just got out of a band, some band just like of mine broke up, and I was taking like vocal lessons, and I was pretty much like at the peak of like what I could do vocally, singing wise.
I have an absolute dream right now that what it was like an early Beatles thing. So you were going to be in those like little tight suits and just guitar strung up to here.
No, it was cool. It was like he redid them a little bit more modern. He made them a little bit more, I don't know how much poppier you can get than the Beatles, but he made them a little bit more modern and poppy for our time. But so I went for an audition. So I was like, fuck, I don't have anything to do. Let me see what this is all about. And guess where my audition was?
No way.
Brook Studio. Yeah. So I walk in there. I'm like, God damn, this place is never going to escape me. I'm always going to end up back in this dumpy ass fucking studio. So I go in, I bring my guitar, and I still am not a very good guitarist, but like I've said before, I could get by, right? So I went in, and they were like, all right, well, let's see what you got. His dad was there, Tim, and then Adam was there. And I was a little intimidated because Adam, he would play like the Oyster Fest every year, and he would play these big shows like around like Southern Connecticut, and he would have a lot of people. So I knew if I got in, I'd be performing for a lot of people. But
did his band used to play at like Amberjacks and places like that back in the day?
Probably.
When like that, there's a whole like Sono strip of like Amberjacks, and then a couple of bars right around that area.
So I remember Rattlesnake
called Hypnotic. Yeah, and there's a band, I want to say it was called Hypnotic, that did a lot of Beatles covers that people loved.
I think I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they were around that circuit. But so I went in and I knew the Beatles. I knew, John Lennon, and I knew Paul McCartney, and I knew my fair share of Beatles songs, but he wanted to play Dear Prudence. And I don't think I knew that song at the time, but it was very simple. And I think they just wanted to do it to see how I would harmonize with him, because who sings Dear Prudence, like the main line? Is that Lennon or McCartney? Dear Prudence, hey. I think it might be McCartney, and then Lennon is like in the background, right? So he shows me the chords, I start playing it. I think his dad is playing drums just like to fill it in for now. And he starts singing, and we listened to it a few times. So he starts singing, and then I'm playing too, and then I start singing above him. I start singing, or the harmony to his melody. And dude, it was like I channeled my John Lennon voice, and we hit the harmonies so well together. Our voices sounded so good together. And then like we looked at each other, and his dad like almost like stopped drumming and was like, oh shit, like this sounds really good. And like literally just started playing together like 2 hours ago. So yeah. And I remember feeling cool because like when you do something musical and it clicks like in a band setting, like you get goosebumps and you get that
100%.
Holy shit, it worked, or that sounds great or whatever. Like it's like a little adrenaline rush.
If you don't have a little splickety sploosh moment when you do something cool creatively, kind of what's the point? Like you're just gonna be miserable being like, I'm going to create this today because I have to. That's terrible. Like when you have those little moments, you're like, oh my god, I'm literate, or I do know these chords, or I can. That's a fucking always just like the most incredible little 5-second span, and then you chase that fucking monkey on your back for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's true, because that's why I continued to make music, was to get that feeling. Like when you're in a band and your band clicks and you do the song perfectly and it's supposed to sound exactly the way it sounds, it's like there's no better feeling. But anyway, so we looked at each other, we like did like the nod, like, oh yeah, that was good, right? And then, his dad, after asked me to come back, and Adam's like, okay, yeah, we have a couple shows coming up in the summer, like we gotta like learn all these songs and da. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I never came back.
They just never called you?
No, I just never went back.
Why didn't you go back?
I don't know.
You doofy bitch.
I don't know. I think because from what I remember thinking about, I didn't want to be in a cover band. I never liked that scene, and I don't know. It was just one of those things. Like, it was like, no offense to him, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be like, cool, I'm in a cover band doing Beatles songs now. Like, I didn't want to bookend that part of my life with that. You know what I mean? It's just, and again, no offense to him. He's a great musician, but I couldn't do it. I thought about it, it sounded good, and I really wanted to go and do it again, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
No, that makes a universe of sense. It's, if you've been creating your own stuff like you were for a long time, I'm sure playing like, what were your, like, when you would be out playing with a band, what were the type of covers that you wanted to play? Because if you had ever called me and been like, hey, I'm in a Beatles cover band, I think my response would have been like, all right, man, see you at Intervention. I'll be there. Open bar that bitch. Yeah, it would have been really confusing to have you say, like, have those words fall out of your maw. I'd have been like, no, that's...
Yeah, it confused me too. And that's why I was just like, as good as this was, and as much chemistry as we had, and our voices sounded really fucking good together, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't know.
Hey, super weird and sad postscript to this story, but if memory serves, Mr. Curry passed away playing drums.
Yeah, 2019. I just read that. Like, I looked them up to see, because I was going to tell you the story. I looked them up to see. Yeah, he died literally doing what he loved. Playing music.
Yeah, my mom used to go see them at remember they used to have those little like trailer concerts at the beach? My mom would go down and see them all the time, and she'd be like, I saw the guy from Curry Tires. Oliver. My mom knows all those people.
Yeah.
Talks to them in the grocery store for like 45 minutes at a time.
Same. My mom, same. But I thought that was a funny story. But no, some of the bands I was in, we did a couple covers, but we did like obscure songs that, like, if you knew them, and you were like, oh, this is cool, they're playing this particular song from this particular band, And if you didn't, you would have just thought it was an original. So,
this might be a strange question, do you ever have, like, especially in situations like that where you're putting something more obscure, like a musical Schadenfreude moment of, I told y'all about this band and you didn't listen for too long of a time, and now you know I'm right?
Not playing the songs, but growing up, and that's something too that I wanted to talk about with you, was you brought up how people used to be our algorithms. Like we were growing up, we're Gen X, we didn't have computers to tell us what it thought we would enjoy. Either
we had
streaming services, or like Netflix tells us, oh, if you like this, you'll like this, or Apple Music or Spotify says, oh, you listen to a lot of this, here's some new stuff. Like, we didn't have that. We had people, right? We had the lady at Blockbuster.
We had word of mouth, and we had the cheers and jeers section of TV Guide. That was our cultural touchstone until, like, was it Entertainment Weekly published their first issue. Like, that was it. And then you had, like, a cool sibling somewhere that would, like, leave a
Siblings.
DVD or a DVD, a VHS cassette tape laying about of some weird movie. Or, like you just said, the ubiquitous Blockbuster girl who introduced us to Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting that you said that, because thinking back, that's how we developed who we are and what we listen to and what movies we enjoy, is people telling us, hey, like my cousins, for instance. My cousins were a huge influence on me early on with music. They would, I think they were maybe like 5 or 6 years older than me, and this was in like the late 80s. They would bring out their little cassette tape folder thing, and they would be like, "Here, Garrett, check it out," right? And obviously, you would go by album cover, like the coolest album covers you would pick, and they would let me borrow some tapes, and then I would go back home and listen to them. And some were, awesome, and some were duds. But that's kind of like how you figured out who you were, and what your taste in music was. I think I grabbed like the Black Crowes, and then fucking White Snake. And then there's like a Cyndi Lauper tape in there, and like there's such a weird eclectic.
I love Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like that, like Whitesnake, I didn't really enjoy that. And then Black Crowes had some cool fucking songs on there, and then Cyndi Lauper was just super fun to listen to, and that slowly evolved into me just becoming an MTV kid, and just absorbing everything on MTV, and then deciding for myself if I liked it or not, or if I'd go buy the tape. But same thing with movies. Oh my God, you gotta go watch this movie. If you like this movie, you're gonna like this movie.
All that physical media was really expensive. When I was a kid, I mean, even a cassette tape, you're still paying about $11 for
like $12.
Cassettes. But what was free was either a 12-pack of blank cassettes that you could record and make mixtapes for you and all of your friends and all these really cool things. And you could sit, dude, I remember I used to call Z100, which I just found out recently, and I'm so angry about this. There's a documentary on, I think it's one of the streaming services, about Z100. They did not broadcast from the top of the Empire State Building. I 100% believed they did, and I'm furious that they didn't. I was a stupid, stupid child. But I would call, dude, every night. I'd sit by my radio at 9 p.m. 1993 with my finger on the record and play button. Should hit both at the same time. If you hit just one, it wouldn't work right, because why would the record button work on its own? And I would call Z100, and I would ask them to play I had some made up name for Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, I called Bohemian Rhapsody something like, "Can you play the Mamma Mia song?" And they're like, "What the fuck is this kid talking about?" Or like "Can you play the Let Me Go, Let Me Go?" Like, dude, what are... And I'd try and record that song perfectly, and I'd fuck it up every night because I'd be so concerned about calling it and saying the wrong name. So I knew I was saying the wrong name, but I couldn't remember that it was Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'd call every night because that was the way that you captured physical media. Or you used the school fundraisers when we got to sell cassette tapes and CDs, and you ordered a whole bunch of them and didn't pay for them eventually.
Yeah, the tape player thing, I remember that vividly because I would have the double cassette tape, and I would have my tape ready, and I would listen for the announcer. "Well, coming up after the break, we got the new Guns N' Roses song.
Live at 5.
And then I would fucking wait until the commercial, and I hated it when they talked over the song. I'd be like, just shut the fuck up, because they would talk all the way through the beginning of the song, and then when they would start singing, that's when, they announced the song. I'd be like, oh, you fucking ruined it, but I would still
I wanted
have
to
it
get
recorded.
the piano part.
Yeah,
the piano part of November Rain is the best part.
God damn it. And then, I would end up having to listen to the song over and over again with the fucking stupid guy introducing the song. And then eventually, that would just become a part of the song for me. But, and then you'd get all the good songs, and then you would make a mixtape, or you would borrow your cousin's tapes and put them in and cue it up and boop, to just copy the song over. It was like early Napster, you know what I mean? It was like,
oh, dude,
we were illegally like copying music, but nobody gave a shit because what? Like you're gonna give it to your best friend? Like that's it. Like there's no internet to make it, a bad thing.
Here's a tape that you wung at someone across the cafeteria. Like,
yeah,
that was the entire. And then they gave you a pack of Nalinators. Like that was it. Dude, do you know the first 2 albums I ever bought with my own money on cassette? I can tell you what they were, and I can tell you what happened to them.
Me too. Go ahead.
So the first 2 I bought in 6th grade through the student fundraiser at Ponus Ridge Middle School. I bought Another Bad Creation, their landmark child rap album.
ABC, right?
BBD, the West Coast or East Coast Family. Then along with that gem, I got Marky Mark and the Funky Brunch, Feel the Vibration, Feel It, Feel It. I got them. They dropped everything off in science class.
I'm so disappointed in you. But wait, what? Wait, you
Wait,
got
no,
them at
this is the
school?
best part. Yeah, this is the best. There's a fundraiser. Like you sold cassette set of it. You were supposed to go to people's houses and not get kidnapped somehow, and like buy a cassette tape. And some creepy old man to be like, okay.
I don't remember selling tapes at school. I would not have. I would
It
have
was
done exactly what you said and just kept them all.
it was only in sixth grade. It was only in sixth grade. That was the only year that we did it. The rest of the time, it was candy bars and bullshit. But anyway, and here's how much your life can change. And this ties back into the Evil Dead 2 girl. Such a nice moniker. I never listened to those tapes. I never touched play on either one of those. There was a kid in my science class who, in a horrible story, but kind of funny story, accidentally shot himself in the head. He lived. So he's
What the
fine-ish. He was sleeping with a gun under his pillow, because that's a thing.
He's like a
He
metal
was like
kid?
one of them bad kids. No, he was like one of them bad kids who would like throw a desk across the room and like tell the teacher to go fuck themselves and then get like thrown out of school in seventh grade. If you look at if you have your middle school yearbooks, he's one of those kids who was only in the school for like maybe like sixth grade and like a month or two of seventh grade, and then they were like, goodbye, special bus.
He wasn't like a metal kid. He had long hair and like, did he have like an older brother?
It was terrifying. He was one of those kids. Remember those like really feral kids? Like we were kind of feral kids, like just roaming the neighborhoods. But remember those like super feral kids who had shit like scooters and whatnot, who you'd see like zipping through neighborhoods like 40 miles an hour when I think we're like delivering drugs now. Like he was one of those kids, like the scary feral kids, like the ones whose parents were like, we haven't seen Dick in 3 days. He's fine.
Did he live behind you and Jeremy, like in that little neighborhood?
He lived over by Grandview Store, by where like Lee Doyle lived, like right in that little neighborhood. But yeah, he shot himself in the head. But anyway, so I never listened to either one of these albums. I got the 2 albums, like I unwrapped the cellophane and was like reading the liner notes, like I folded them out like the fucking map they were, like burp, 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 burp. And the kid was like, Danny, can I see those? And I was like, here you go. You're a friendly guy. I've known you for years. He's like, can I borrow them? And I was like, sure. And then he borrowed them. Didn't get them back any day.
No, you're never gonna see him.
But here's the thing. If I had listened to those and I was like, oh my god, these are life-transforming albums.
I don't think they would have been.
Dude, I don't know. I could think that Marky Mark, I could be still like feeling the vibrations. Remember when he covered Lou Reed's "Walk on the Wild Side" and people were like, "This is a good idea. Let's let Marky Mark get his hands on some Lou Reed."
I don't know that song. I know the song.
You don't know that song?
No, I know the song, but I've never heard him do it.
There's a cover version of "Walk on the Wild Side" by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and I think they even updated the lyrics to make them like timely, where it's like, "Crack babies walking down the street." Hypodermic needles in the sea, and it's just fucking Marky Mark doing the Wild Side because Lou Reed apparently needed money bad in 1991. They were like, "Hey,
I'm looking it up. Wild Side is a song by American hip hop group Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. It was released in '91 as the second single from their Music for the People. Heavily samples Lou Reed, and they're all the tracks are performed by Mark Wahlberg. But can I hear it? So did he just sample it, or did he like do?
Oh no, it's
like
a cover. It's a cover. It is a cover. It is 100% a cover. I'm going to Spotify right now. Yeah, dude, it's one of those things that people don't talk about from the '80s, like Gremlins 2 enough. It's just cocaine and hubris. That's all it is. Cocaine and hubris.
I don't know if I could play this.
See, look, he's like,
it's sped up a little bit. This is awful already, and it's just the sample.
See, I told you they updated the lyrics for the early '90s. I bet you everything I own. He said the words Jimmy Hat. He's gonna say Jimmy Hat. I know it. I told you they're smoking crack and the upfield walking the wild. And crack was an important problem in 1991.
That's enough of that. Turn that guy's microphone off. All right. Thank you for that. I'm gonna post that, but I'll use like the music from Instagram so I don't get in trouble. Hopefully it's up there, but
It is. It's such an amazing song. But anyway, Danny borrowed those. I never got to keep them. I wasn't able to find out till much later when they released it as a single. What an amazing song the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch Walking the Wild Side was, and how much that could have touched me and led me into a different life where I wasn't wearing Hawaiian shirts, but instead those white guys who wear do-rags.
I miss those times because, and you said earlier, like, you know, have you ever been like, see, I told you so. I was that way. Me and Pete, we discovered a lot of bands before they blew up where we were like, why don't we like get paid for this? Because we went to a show one time and they were giving out, like, I think it was still tapes at the time. They were giving out these little single tapes. I think we went to go see Korn before they blew up at like Tuxedo Junction or something. And
really?
And that was another one too.
That's
Korn,
cool.
We were listening to Korn. I was listening to Korn while delivering ice. This guy, he was driving the truck.
He means the frozen water, not crystal meth.
Yes,
not crystal
ice.
meth.
It delivered ice in a truck.
Well,
here's my Korn story. So we're driving to the truck. It was 94.
Sounds dirty.
Maybe 94, 95. And this guy, he's like a Taekwondo instructor, but he's really into like the hardcore scene. We're driving around, and all we have is a tape deck in the truck. And you know, I brought some like mixtapes and shit. And then this one morning, he comes in. He goes like, I got this tape, and I was like, okay. And he was like, the band's name is Korn, and I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, Korn with a K. And I was like, okay, fucking put it in, right? And our first drive is like pretty long. We got to go to like Mamaroneck or some shit like that, New York. And so we put it in, and the truck sound system sucks. It's not that great, but we turn it up and we hear like the opening chords of Blind. It's just like the fucking cymbal and the da-na-na-na. And I remember sitting there wanting to laugh to myself because this band's name is Korn, and like this guy's really serious about showing this to me, like it's gonna blow me away. The build up in that song, and then when it actually breaks down, it was incredible. I was like, I never heard anything like that before, and I didn't really like heavy hardcore music like that, but the way they did it and how unique the singer sounded and how out of his fucking mind he sounded, and the sound of the bass, and it was the first time I heard like a 7-string guitar. I was like, what the fuck is this? We must have listened to that tape 900 fucking times that summer. I'm surprised it didn't melt in the tape deck. We listened to it so much. And he would tell me little facts about it. Like, did you know the guitarists, their strings have, or their guitars have 7 strings? And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? How is that even a thing? And so I would tell all my friends about it. Yo, you got to listen to Korn. Yo, you got to get the Korn tape. You got to get this tape, right? And people, you know, around me would start listening to it and be like, yo, this is crazy. These guys are nuts. And then Life is Peachy came out, the second one, and they fucking exploded. Mm-hmm. And it was like, and then Freak on a Leash and all that shit, the third album, that was great too. After that, they kind of sucked. But like those 3 albums just fucking took MTV by storm. Them, and then Slipknot came out, and like all that shit happened. Marilyn Manson was another one that we found out about through listening to 9 Inch Nails. And nobody knew who they were. We started dressing up like that and everything, and people were like, "What the fuck is happening?"
I still remember like the first time I ever really heard the Downward Spiral. And I think it was with you, like the summer before high school, if that's the right time frame, and just being like, "What is this?" You know, it's really funny, and I don't think you were there. We were at my mom's house. We're like 15 years old, and I had rented a movie because everybody was coming over to my house to watch a movie. And remember you do that in high school? Like people just show up at somebody's house, you'd cram like way too many people for a living room into a living room, and then people would just start making out, and it would be like a fucking sauna of just people making out, like 2 people just watching the actual movie. I rented a movie that I put on, and everyone fucking left because they didn't want to watch it, because it didn't look good, and it wasn't funny because it was in black and white. And we're talking like we're talking like 8 or 9 people. It was Clerks.
Clerks?
It was Clerks. And I had seen Clerks already. I knew
Who
it was
walked
awesome.
out of your theater? If I was there, I wouldn't have left because I don't think I knew about Clerks. I think you may have introduced me to Clerks. The Kevin Smith world, I think you introduced me to.
I found, that was another one. Like, I don't remember how I even found out about, like, I think it was like a random, like, snippet somewhere. I saw, like, remember MTV News would have, like, splash at Sundance, Kevin Smith, and Kurt Loder's fucking noggin pops up and says something about Kevin Smith. And you're like, oh, that looks interesting. And I think I just saw it at, like, the video store one day and rented it, and I was like, I don't know why, but I like this. I can't explain why.
It was intellectual and it was very dialogue heavy. People blame the kids this generation for not having a fucking an attention span, but back then it was hard to get kids to sit and watch Clerks or sit and watch Mallrats and and have them get it. You had to be a certain kind of kid to really get that humor, if you will.
There's so many movies that I love with all my heart, like, or even comedic program. Like, a really huge one for me is always Mystery Science Theater 3000, which I think is one of the funniest things ever made. Which we got to go to the live show of that, like 2 years? No, a long time ago. Like, it was like a couple of weeks before COVID, and they actually had the movie on the screen. Then they had the actor. And they had the puppeteers working all the fucking puppets down in the front, so you actually saw the shadows throughout the movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
I laughed so hard. I missed probably half the jokes. It's the funniest live thing I've ever seen, without, like, bazillion out of 10 type of good. But, like, that's one of those things that's, like, very important and key to how my sense of humor developed and what type of things I find really funny. Which is this?
Yeah, we used to binge that show on Cartoon Network or Comedy Central. They used to just play it for hours.
That show has been on every network, every time slot, every streaming service. They raise money online to do new seasons. Dude, that show, to me, there's something that's just so absurdly smart and stupid about it at the same time that hits my funny bone like a freaking sledgehammer. And it's one of those things that I discovered, because that's what the original Comedy Network, not Comedy Central, the Comedy Network, showed at 11 o'clock in midnight. And when I was a little kid, I'd stay up really late and I'd watch that show. And that's kind of like what taught me what humor was. So I think that's one of the reasons why humor might be a little bit on the skewed side.
Well, yeah. I mean, at least your particular brand of humor, where if you tell a joke like that at a party that you're at, like, only a couple people are going to get it and laugh at it, and the rest of the people are going to go like, what is this fucking guy talking? Like the booty frog dance. Like, only a couple people are going to get it,
I have this really good friend, Zach, who lives in South Bend. Because when I first moved to South Bend, I didn't know anybody there. It was just Deb and I. And it sucked. It was the middle of the winter, and in South Bend, Indiana, the sun goes down in, like, late October. It just doesn't come back out till March. And it just snows constantly. And it's not like, here's the note, it's not the snow that you and I grew up with. It's not like that heavy, wet snow that's like fucking shoveling cinder blocks over your shoulder. It's this, like, light, fluffy, like, fairy dust snow that just drifts everywhere and then freezes everywhere. And in the winters, it gets down to, like, no joke, 40. It is a winter hellscape. So I found the best thing I could find, which was a really warm and dark and nice bar that had good food and served cheap drinks. And I met my friend Zach, who Zach will openly say that when he first met me that he did not like me. And then he goes, yeah, dude. Then I listened for a minute. He's like, you talk a lot, but every now and then you say something really funny if you listen hard enough. And I was like, that's the best compliment I've ever gotten.
And that's the best kind of humor, at least for me. I love it. Like when, people say a whole bunch of fucking nonsense, but then in it you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I see where they're going with this. 90% of your jokes, but
what's the Batman? The Batman joke.
Intelligent, and that's the same thing with like Kevin Smith movies. Is like you gotta be in it for the long haul in order to get to the punchline or the running gag or the you have to you have to commit to it.
So I get really annoyed when people talk about comedy sometimes. And I have a hyper-specific example of this because I think it's such a good example of this. is the movie Blazing Saddles, which is fucking hysterical. It's one of the funniest movies ever made.
I have to revisit that again.
Genius.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so I love Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder is like one of my all-time favorites. I love him so much. But anyway, you always see like, and I don't like memes very much in general. But you always see these. It's a really pervasive meme. It's like one of the OG memes. It's been there forever, and it's like you couldn't make Blazing Saddles today because your humor wouldn't be accepted, or some just fucking lazy pat ourselves in the back for growing up when people were more hateful bullshit that we all like to do.
No. Okay, I see where you're going with this. Keep going.
Well, no,
I agree. I agree.
I don't know. So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Blazing Saddles is really funny because it points out how incredibly stupid racism is. Because it points out, like, everyone who's practicing racism is a fucking idiot and a fucking asshole. But I don't think that's why a lot of the people who are posting memes like that are finding the movie so funny. I think it's much more of this side of the needle sometimes of they're saying, I'm not saying they agree with the word, but that they're saying a naughty word and the use of the naughty word is what makes it funny, which that's lazy fucking stupid humor.
Yeah.
And that's the type of humor that I it's so bad. And I find that that's the type of stuff that it's this lazy take my wife, that type of cringy, ugly, no redeeming value humor, that all the things that I think I found in like the right order to scale up worked really well for like finding like Clerks and even finding like music. I remember like I can tell you who I listened to Nevermind with for the first time. Josh Roy in my mom's living room. I can tell you who I listened to Pearl Jam 10, Wilson the Kasky, upstairs in my bedroom. She let me borrow it while she was over talking to my sister. Use Your Illusions 1 and 2, Ralph Tucci. The Spaghetti Incident, you. Vitology, you. All these things, like, I can take those back.
Purple,
and like
you.
have these like Purple, you, yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots Core with you. I was with you in the living room.
Yeah.
I think I was there for 10. I was there for 10 with you. My initial thing with Pearl Jam when I think about 10 is with you in your bedroom. It had to have been the first time.
So actually, no, you may have been there when Allie let me borrow the tape. But dude, like all those little scripts, like those were things that were handed down that were just inherited ideas and items that are really fun for like how I think creativity gets passed along and how the fun of art gets passed along. And we do a really shitty job of that now. Like,
yeah, the human algorithm. We don't have it anymore. It's not there anymore. And you know what? I still try. I'll discover something new, and I will tell people, "Oh, you got to check this album out." Whatever. I'll send them a link. I'll follow up with them, and they never fucking listen to it. And it's like, I don't know. If someone sends me a link, I'm going to listen to it right away because I'm trusting you as a person. Like I would rather trust someone to give me good shit to listen to or watch or comedy or whatever it is than have an algorithm tell me. I don't watch 90% of the shit that any of these services recommend to me.
Most of the algorithms think that I have terrible taste based on like the stuff that I've seen that they think I'm going to like, because I'm not going to like fucking Paul Blart Mall Cop 3, it's not in my wheelhouse. 2 answered all the questions I had. There's no more to be said.
I'm sorry, I interrupted your rant about comedy. I really want to hear the Blazing Saddles theory.
It's that a lot of people take this view of comedy and what makes things really funny and what makes... It's not that Blazing Saddles couldn't get made today. It's that y'all are just too fucking stupid to understand why Blazing Saddles is so funny.
Yes.
A lot of you think that it's funny because it's saying a dirty word.
Yes.
Or a really small percentage of you are laughing for a really ugly reason, and
yes,
go fuck yourselves.
Yes.
There's an audience problem because the algorithm pats us on the back. It's just read a book the other day, and I don't want to name it, so I don't want to trash the book, and I don't want to trash people who liked it, which I know I just did that for another form of art, but whatever. My hypocrisy knows no bounds. And it's one of those books that was like, it's really well reviewed. It's one of those like top 10 books of the year on all these lists. And I read it, and I just didn't get it. I felt very self-congratulatory. And I think that there's a certain problem with like this modern art of like being steered in the direction that the algorithm wants to take you. I really enjoyed a lot of like the Marvel stuff for a long time. Now I just kind of don't. It's kind of weird. And there's just this art is so much more fun when it's a joyful shared thing as opposed to something that is just hit the button and the art pops out, hit the button and the creativity pops out, hit the button and this pops out. It's and I've kind of a I don't know enough about music to ask this in a way that's going to come off intelligent and without sounding like a brazen asshole. So one of your recent shows you were talking about, and I'm so sorry I forgot his name. It was the last show. You guys were talking about the influence of hip hop making the shift over to country, and how your friend who has a producer and engineer is seeing a lot of these people coming in who maybe 6 months, a year ago would have said, hey, I want to do hip hop, R&B, this style, but who are now coming in and saying, hey, I want to come and do hip hop, but with a flavor of country because of it's being based in popularity, because of that. And I'm going to make a word up, I think, that algorithmic, that's the word I'm going to make up, an algorithmic flow that says, if I do this, I will be more popular, as opposed to, I want to make the things that make my soul sing as much as possible, as opposed to, and I don't know if that's a rude question to ask of someone who's making music, because I just don't know enough about that. But does that make sense to you?
Yeah, we're also a product of our environment as artists now and musicians. It's
very true.
It's like you don't have very much freedom to do whatever you want anymore, or really. And I'm speaking for myself, but if I ever wanted to be, popular or blow up or go viral, I wouldn't be able to make the type of music that I make, because nobody would fucking listen to it. And you kind of have to hop on these trends, no matter how, long they are or short-lived they are. You got to hop on the trends and you have to go viral. And like, it was Caleb. He said like musicians these days need to put out like a single a week, because they need to stay out. They need to stay on the top of your feed. They need to stay in your algorithm. It's just a constant pumping out of like product and material, and it's not
Doesn't
the
it just
same.
make you feel kind of sad and dirty though?
It would, like, for me if I had to do it that way.
I mean, even as the consumer and listener, just it makes me sad. Like it doesn't make me feel like going back to the Beatles earlier. Like I might not be a big fucking Beatles fan, but I still get a little bit of the feels when I hear Blackbird played beautifully. I remember having this argument with my girlfriend several months ago about AI suggest a song, and I don't know. I know that it's part of my life. I know that's what modern, and I know that's how these things work, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. Doesn't have to support it. I miss finding things organically.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring this up too, because I think we're starting to see a turn. I think a lot of musicians are getting tired of it as well. And I think the ones who really want to make a difference and really want to change the way we consume music now, it's going to be harder for them at first. But I think if they keep up with it, then maybe we will see, a change in the way we consume music, because I've been hearing whispers from people and little comments here and there on the internet about like, I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of having to do this for Instagram. I'm sick of having to do this for TikTok. I'm sick of trying to be viral. I'm sick of trying to like, why do I have to do this? Why can't we just go back to the way it was, where we organically get bigger, and word of mouth has a much wider reach, where like now we're so dependent on the algorithm, and it's fucking horrible. I just went to a friend's show last week who made tapes for his band. The songs aren't even out on streaming yet. He made tapes. They were, hey, leave a tip, grab a tape.
And people were going nuts, weren't they?
I fucking bought 2. I took 2 tapes.
Did you really?
I threw $10 down. I was like, here you guys go. This is amazing. I gave one to my daughter, and then there's one in my car right now on repeat. And it's the most I've listened to an album in a long time, because it's in my tape player. My radio sucks, so I just I keep it on. It loops. I know all the songs already. And it's like, It's great. I don't have to go in my phone and figure out what the fuck I want to listen to today. I'm just going to let the tape play. And there's a sound to it where that you can't capture in digital. And again, I don't want to sound like an old guy saying like there's better back then, because
Be
it's
who you
not.
are. Be who you are. Lean
But it's
into it.
not. But I do think the organicness of discovering things through people or through friends or through a flyer on the wall, or, you know, even a flyer, a sticker in a bathroom, you scan the QR code and then you get the album. That's fucking cool. Like different ways of getting it instead of some computer telling me what I should be listening. But it's going to be a long uphill battle, though.
I'd say those pictures of the day about some records I had from since I was like 14, 15 years old. And I just recently actually got a record player for like Christmas last year. I just didn't have one, but I had all these records. Dude, I have to tell you, I would not sit down and listen to an entire album bookend, front to back. I haven't done that, and I'm going to guess easily 10 to 15 years, if not longer. Like, it's not something that I do, because I would stream service, was fancy and had satellite radio in the car for a little while.
Until your free subscription runs out, and then you realize it's not worth paying for.
Like the $25 plan. But anyway, no, I wouldn't do. I wouldn't be that interested. I played, the songs I like, have that playlist. But now, dude, I sit and I listen to entire albums, and it's so much more fucking enjoyable. And it's that physical, like, and I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of patience for like record store people, because I just don't care enough to be that committed. But I like that community. And I think that's what kind of like, at 12 years old, you walked into a video store or you said to someone, what movie should I get that my friend and I can watch that you think we'll like? And she handed you Evil Dead 2. And then, at some point, someone handed you Korn's album. You listen to that, holy shit. And then someone handed me Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut for the first time. It's like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. And it's all this awesome things get handed to you and handed to you and handed to you. And then everything got really convenient really fast. It got really convenient to download music. It got really convenient to get just the songs that you want, not the whole album. It got really convenient. It got really free. If you didn't care about giving your computer cancer AIDS. Dude, I messed my mom's computer up so bad with LimeWire at one point. And this is like when LimeWire was like, it wouldn't even be the actual name of the song. It'd be like what people just thought the names of the songs were, because that was real. And when you turned my mom's computer on, the computer itself would just start screaming. Like, if you had the speakers plugged in, it was like, "Rah!" And like people's actual voices like screaming profanity. It was, I don't know what it was, but that's how fucked up I made my mom's computer from LimeWire. She doesn't know about it. Shh. Don't tell Sandy.
Yeah, anyway. I've had to reformat my fair share of PCs because of LimeWire and Napster, definitely. And I still have CDs. No. I still have, those are still safely tucked away in a folder called System Files.
So basically what that was our little fucking biosphere artistic community of all these little fucking people who toss things at us throughout our lives. And then it got really convenient to not have those people in our lives, to not go to the store and talk to that person. And so convenience just killed all of our communities. Convenience was like, nope, don't need that person, don't need that person, don't need that person, definitely don't need fucking that person. And we had it all at our fingertips, and it was really nice for like a couple of years. It's really, and we were just talking about getting rid of like half the streaming services we use, because they're all fucking impossible to navigate. None of them have what you want to watch. Just pick two and settle. It's like being single and divorced with 5 kids after 50. Like, just settle. Anything that comes along is good. Just fucking, it's 9 p.m. Settle.
Yeah, and not to mention all these different streaming services. If you actually have them all, Prime, Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, if you like, once you have them all, you're basically paying a cable bill. So it's like, we just go back to fucking cable.
We've reinvented more difficult to use cable. That's all it's done. It has done nothing else. And so much of it, dude, I've watched Netflix movies front to back that I have no memory of. It's just, it is, yeah. Like, I saw something called Red Notice. I don't know what that was.
It's
I couldn't
just
tell you.
content meant to be consumed at this point. Like it's just views. It's so there's no
Oh, and I love
substance
it.
to a lot of it. And once in a while you'll find something where you're like, oh wow, that was really good. But like it's very few and far between. And I'd rather have someone tell me, yo, you need to check this out.
Yeah.
Because I will trust that person more than I'll trust an algorithm. And,
Did you
and I,
ever,
and I
did you
just
ever have
miss
someone?
it. Nostalgia, I don't know what it is, but hopefully it all comes back around and we can start doing that again. Maybe, maybe video stores will be a thing again. People are starting to collect VHS, like it's hopefully those dead mediums are going to come back to life in some way or another. And hopefully people won't put huge price tags on them and VCRs will be easier to come by. And I really want to see a revival of the physical media because I believe in it so much. It helped us
Oh, I
become
love it.
who we are. And,
Yeah.
and I think kids these days, I think they have a yearning for it and they don't even know it,
Oh, 100%. Well, it's like we
You
talked
brought up
about
a
last
good
time we
point.
talked. It's if you hand me a stack of pictures, I'll flip through them.
Yeah.
If you hand me your phone, I want to shoot myself. I don't care. It has nothing to do with it. It's that physical media. I'm not gonna like, dude. My phone has more pictures of sunsets and those. I have no idea what they're from. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna remember this moment. I don't remember it. But a picture, dude. I have pictures from when I was a little kid, and I'm like, oh, I remember that day when my dad didn't show up to the game. That's a picture.
No, but it's cool. It's funny though because I see it in my daughter Leslie. She's 21 and she bought a digital like point and shoot like a Sony point and shoot digital camera, the ones that take like the little card with the rechargeable batteries. She bought one off
Yeah.
eBay and she like brings it to like the birthday parties and like the fun things and she hands it to everybody so we can all take pictures and then she prints them out on our printer. She bought photo paper and stuff and
Yeah.
she told me, she goes, do you know how much better it is to have these photos printed? I'm like, yes, Leslie. Yes, I know what it's like. That's how I grew up. And I'm like, I'm so glad
Do you
to
remember
see that.
begging? Dude, I remember begging your dad to bring us like in the middle of a fucking blizzard, like a legitimate blizzard, in his gray pickup truck to drive across town so that we could go to the fucking 1 hour photo to
Yeah.
get pictures developed so that we had like our first band photo shoot ready for us to like bring to school on Monday and be like, look how cool we are. And it was amazing. And you sent me some of those pictures
Recently.
like a couple of years ago. Yeah. Do you know I figured out what night that's from? Did I tell you that?
No.
Okay.
With
I
the
gotta
one
get
of
some
us
water.
in the basement?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. You're gonna find this really funny. Give me a second.